And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So today I'm going to be reviewing The Crow, the 2024 remake. Did it land the way I wanted to land, or did I think that this movie was a giant piece of crap? We'll just find out pretty soon on what I think about it. But let's go on ahead. Let's start up the show. It's good to actually be on the air tonight. So let's go on ahead. Let's do it. And hello, movie lovers. And I'm your host, John DiGregorio. I just want to say to everybody that's watching right now or listening to the podcast, welcome. And I do appreciate you guys checking out the podcast and also checking us out on YouTube as well. So here's the thing. I I try to do my best just to distance myself when seeing The Crow, especially when I love the 1993 movie in itself. Brendan Lee does a fantastic job in this movie, and I really loved it. I loved the whole entire Gothic look of the original one, and so I was like, you know what? With all the negativity and this development hell that The Crow has went through, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna distance myself from the original and try not to go into this thing without comparing the original from the remake. And it's just hard to do because of the fact that I grew up with the original and I was 10 years old when I first seen it in the movie theaters. So it was definitely hard for me to separate it. But what I have to say is this: if this movie wasn't called The Crow and it was actually called something else, this would work because of the stuff that they had in it. But because of the fact that they ended up calling this movie The Crow, and you know, I think that it could have also been a very good thing of having its own love story as well if this wasn't called The Crow, or if it was even focused on the fact too that it wasn't Eric Draven all over again or Shelley Webster all over again. But what they did instead was, okay, instead of them just making a whole entire different movie arc with different characters, they decided to go on ahead and just use the Eric character and Shelley character and not give them any last names to separate the 93 movie from the remake. And I think that was stupid. I think they should have just went on ahead and said, hey, look, we're going to go on ahead and make a different movie in its entirety and focus on some other characters aside from that. And I love the graphic novel of this, of the Crow, but this just doesn't look like the Crow. It doesn't act like the Crow in any kind of way or fashion or anything like that. But the thing that I loved about the 93 version is the fact that there was like dark lighting. It had this gothic kind of feel to it and had this darkness within it, but underneath the dark surface of everything, you had a little bit of light with Eric Draven's character that wants to actually put the wrong things right and be with Shelley. But, you know, they, like I said, they refused the names Eric and Shelley despite giving them different last names in an attempt to distance the film from the original. Unfortunately, the approach doesn't work. I love Bill Skarsgård as an actor, right? I loved him in Stephen King's It. Not only did I love him in It, but I also liked him in the last Wick movie. I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was menacing. I thought he was threatening in that movie. But his performance lacked depth to it because of the writing and because of the fact that his performance felt very wooden to the point where I was like, I don't care about these characters. I don't care what they're trying to set up with the Chelly character or the Eric character because of the fact that it just doesn't land. And what worked in the Brandon Lee version of The Crow was its simplicity. And what I mean by simplicity is the fact it's a simple storyline. The fact of a guy who's trying to have vengeance on what happened to him and his girlfriend and trying to basically rest in peace later on because the fact that the vengeance is now gone, he has no reason to actually be on the earth anymore. He can now be with Shelley, and that's something that I loved about the simplicity of it and the love story behind it. And in this remake, they attempt to build the audience investment with Eric and Shelley's relationship, but it comes off as rushed, seeming like it's just a couple of days after Shelley escapes rehab. And yeah, that's another thing I want to mention too, of how Eric and Shelley actually meet is in rehab. And that does not work for me. And the fact that that doesn't work for me, I made me feel sad because of the fact I understand that they're trying to build the relationship up between Eric and Shelley compared to how it was in the original and try to give us a reason to care about them. But I felt like the simplicity of the original story gave us a lot more to it with just the flashbacks alone, to the point where you don't need to have an origin story to Shelley Webster and Eric Draven or anything like that. And they try to do it with this rehab setup, and then they decide, oh, we're gonna escape rehab and get away from these bad guys. And it just felt it just felt like it lost so much momentum with this. And it's only an hour and some more minutes of the film, but yeah, it only comes off as rushed and it's seeming like just a couple of days after Shelley escapes rehab. I feel like there should have been more development to their story than just a brief period together to make me feel more invested into the characters itself. Because it seemed like with the 93 version that Shelley and Eric were together for a long time. With this one, it just seems like it was a weekend that they just got together in rehab. They checked themselves in and then they wind up escaping in rehab and then they um go into this mansion, right? And they wind up drinking together. They wind up at this, like I said, they wind up at this penthouse and they're drinking. You know, and it just doesn't work. This is especially, and also too, I feel like there should have been more development to their story than just a brief period together, like I mentioned. This is especially important for the revenge movie, as their love story doesn't feel believable enough for Eric to defy the death of Shelley. In the original, the audience's investment came through flashbacks, like I mentioned, without the need of a full 30-minute backstory. There are some interesting ideas in this movie, like the purgatory element, which explains that to Eric that his love must remain pure to set things right. And I love the purgatory stuff because of the fact that I have a comment. Because this movie, ouch. Yes, this movie is very ouchy, and you know, I ended up buying this at Walmart. I just want to point that out. But, you know, I just wanted to feel like I was invested into these characters and cared about these characters. It got to the point where I just didn't care about these characters. And like I was mentioning with the Purgatory, I love the Purgatory stuff within this because of the fact that we never got that with the original one. And even in the James O'Barr comic, we actually have a little shot of the Purgatory, and I love the fact that the death is basically explaining the rules to Eric. Hey, look, man, you need to go on ahead and make sure your love is pure. If you lose the fact that your love is pure, you're going to be stuck in this purgatory forever, and Shelley is going to be in hell forever. So he starts having self doubt about his relationship between him and Shelley and stuff like that, to the point where it's like, well, guess what? You're now stuck in purgatory. She's gonna be stuck in hell. And now because you doubted your relationship and your relationship is not pure, you're gonna have to do something. So guess what? He makes a deal with Death. Death winds up telling him, well, now guess what? Now you're gonna have to, since you're replacing Shelley to go into hell, now you're gonna be being in eternity for hell. And Justin, the final 20 minutes of the movie was the best. Yeah. Wait, you bought this? Yeah, unfortunately I did because I love the steelbook look of it. That's why I bought it. But I wish I didn't. I wish I could have got my money back for that. But but anyways, um, but like I said, I mean, the purgatory stuff was really interesting. But for Eric to make that deal with death and saying, "Look, take my place instead. Let Shelley can be over here, can rest in peace over here, and I'll take her place in hell." And I just didn't find that believable enough for me to be invested in that thing because I didn't like that. Um, I just didn't like that element to it. But yeah, like I said, there are some interesting ideas in the movie, like, and the look of her even reminds me of the graphic novels. However, the film tends to over explain everything. Danny Houston's villain character is also depicted as a magic adjacent, which also undermines the magic and mystery of the Crow. The deals made by the Crow feel like they lack the same passion and love seen in moments from the original. Regarding the villains, they come off as one dimensional, making it hard to care about them. when Eric kills them. Because here's the thing, and I'm going back once again off the original. Keep the steel book and toss the movie. I might just do that, Justin. I might just do that. But whenever it comes down to the goons, right? The one that, like I mentioned, at least with the original one, Eric was going down the list of people that killed him and Shelly, going down the line, right? And with this, he just kills a bunch of goons for the sake of violence. And there's no meaning behind it at all. It was just violent for the sake of being violent. There was no reason for him to be killing. And you know what? I'm just going to I'm going to actually humanize the goons for a minute. What if this was actually just some low level guys trying to support their family, and here comes Eric with a katana trying to kill everybody? At least with the original, Eric was trying to get people that was not involved with Shelly's death out of there. And yes, he made them to make their own demise, their own decisions. And because of those decisions, he had to also kill them. But this one, he didn't even give no shits. He just went on ahead and killed a bunch of people. That's all he did. And I just felt like there was no reason behind it. And, and even whenever you have that whole entire Danny Houston's character and stuff, I really didn't really care for him. He whispers in somebody's ear, and then he winds up making the person kill somebody else and stuff. I really didn't like that element to it. I really didn't. I didn't really like that at all. And then there's also making it hard. Okay, here's another thing though too that I want to mention. Okay, regarding the villains, they come up, like I said, making it care about them. Eric kills them. In the original, Eric had a list of people, like I mentioned, and then he would spare those not involved with the death, allowing them to make their own choices. In this remake, it seems like they're decided to kill everyone for the sake of violence without any meaningful substance. Additionally, the soundtrack lacks the impact that the original had. I'll be honest with you, the soundtrack itself is very bland and it's not very rememberable. Just like how this movie is not very rememberable at all. I really didn't like the direction that they were going in with this. I really wanted to like this movie. I really wanted to just ignore everybody from saying, "Oh, it's not as bad as they make it out to be." And I'm thinking to myself, did we just watch the same movie? And I understand movies are subjective, but it makes me wonder if we even seen the same movie, because it was bad. And then even the makeup and the cosmetics with the crow, I thought was kind of unique as well, because of the fact that they're not going with the old makeup like they used for the other crow movie, like the original crow movie at all. And I thought that was pretty interesting. And also too, when you have Eric whose eyes goes in the back of his head whenever he ends up taking the form of the crow, and then you have the blood for the crow makeup and stuff. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought that was pretty neat. If it wasn't a crow movie, considering the fact that this is the Crow movie, I feel like that it would have actually worked, or focus on other characters, like I said. But all in all, this movie is not for me. I didn't really care for it. It felt rushed. It felt very cookie cutter. You could definitely tell maybe some scenes should have been in there, and some scenes to actually expand the relationship between Shelly and Eric to better explain everything. But you can definitely tell that this is definitely a cookie cutter kind of movie. And I just wish that there was more heart in the writing of this and not feel rushed. And like I mentioned before, I love Bill Skarsgård. I loved him in John Wick. I loved him in the It remake. But with this, I really didn't. I didn't care for it like I wanted it to. It didn't land for me. But if you love this movie, if you like this movie, I'm happy for you. I'm glad it worked for you. But it just didn't work for me. But I have a question for you guys. Did it work for you? Did it not? Did it make you want to toss the movie into the trash and be like, hey, look, I wish I never got to see this, or your ticket for that matter, too? But yeah, I wish that I didn't buy this movie. But I bought it for the steelbook cover because I love collecting physical media. But I might actually do another review on Twisters coming up soon as well, just to get a better, just to get another review out there. And then I'm also going to be doing a documentary review off of Kevin Smith's, based off of Kevin Smith's movie called Chasing Amy. So yeah, that's gonna be it as far as this show goes. I know this is a little shorter than normal, but I just wanted to get some kind of content out there for you guys and let you know, hey, look, I watched The Crow and what did I think of it? And it falls flat. I gave this a 1 out of 5 on my letterbox. As a matter of fact, if you want to go ahead and check out my letterbox, comment below. Go in the description and look below, and you'll find in my letterbox. You'll find a couple of movies that I actually reviewed for this year. But yeah, that's gonna be it, guys. I hope that everyone has a great and safe day. And thank you so much, Justin, for supporting this channel and supporting the podcast. I do appreciate that so much. I'm looking forward to actually networking with you again soon. So, anyways, that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you so much for your time and your love for the podcast. And always until next time, guys. Bye bye.